Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Hilmar Gunnarsson. I'm the CEO of Arkio, and with me today is Johan Hannegraaff, Abby from IMEG. So as you kind of gather into the stream, it would be great if you, let us know in the chat where you are from. It's always great to see the locations where people are kind of joining from. Myself, I'm in Iceland, Johan is in the Netherlands, and Abby is in the US, so we are quite globally spread. Let's just give people like a minute or two to join the stream. So Abby, you ready to show everybody how you've been using Arkio?
Yes, I'm really excited to show like all the cool features and how to incorporate it with their AEC industry.
Very cool. I think we'll have some really cool things to show everybody. It's amazing how you've been using this, and not only in XR headsets, but like on iPads, PC, and all of those things.
Yep.
Truly wonderful.
Good
See,
to see
Days has
where
joined.
Yeah.
Hey, Days. So let's see, maybe another minute, and then we'll get going.
Hey, I see a Kansas City. I'm in St. Louis, so we're pretty close. Welcome in.
Anyone from Europe joining? We had some people from Australia even last time.
I'm sure there will be some people from there. We have
Nice.
Poland, we have San Antonio. Nice. Congrats on getting to the NBA Finals, San Antonio. That was big. Okay, so it's a couple of minutes over, so time to get going. For those that just joined, my name is Hilmar Gunnarsson. I'm the CEO of Arkio, and with me today is Johan Hannegraaff, our head of product, and Abby Coleman from IMEG. And today we're going to talk about a lot of different things and show you some really cool demos. So the agenda is roughly that we'll cover a bit what's new in Arkio 2.2. We'll do a live demo of some of those new features. Then Abby is going to show us how IMEG has been using Arkio to enhance their design workflow. And at the end, we'll do a bit of a Q&A. And if you have any questions during this event, feel free to write them in the chat so we can get to them in the Q&A section itself. Don't be shy. No question is a bad question. So just let it all flow, and we're happy to address them at the end. So with Arkio, we are on a mission to democratize design collaboration for the built environment. We want to bring Arkio and its capabilities, to pretty much everybody. So why are we doing that? We think it's critically important for people to be able to experience buildings before they're built, not just afterwards. By allowing people to truly experience these buildings before construction starts and during the design phase, a lot of time can be saved, a lot of money can be saved. There are just fewer surprises overall during the process, both before and after construction. And with Arkio, everybody can be part of this discussion, even if you don't have an extra headset. And as Abby will be showing you, they are even using Arkio on their PCs to collaborate with their client. The best part of Arkio is that you can also make decisions while inside the model itself. You can ideate, you can move things around, you can come up with new, better layouts and designs and solutions. You don't need to do that in a separate design tool afterwards. People are using Arkio today for a variety of use cases, including design ideation, design reviews, client presentations. And they're doing this in XR, on iPads, on PC, Mac, and so on. So it's truly a cross-platform tool for people that want to, show people buildings during the design phase before construction starts, and to make better decisions earlier in the design process itself. Now, we continue to improve Arkio all the time, and in 2.2, we're making some pretty big improvements. The headline, new feature, if you will, is that we're introducing what they call movable objects from Revit, Rhino, and SketchUp. This allows you to easily import your Revit, Rhino, SketchUp model and start to move individual objects around to experiment with new design options, new layouts, and so on. And you can do that by yourself or collaboratively with others. We'll be showing some of this in the live demo. We've drastically simplified how you export from the plugins and share your scenes with your other devices like a Quest or an iPad. We now have a central UI to manage your Arkio Cloud Sync settings inside Arkio on all of your devices. And as always, you continue to push the boundary and the limits of the size of models that you can import in Arkio. Now we support even bigger models. And last but not least, we made some changes to our pricing plans to make Arkio even more accessible to more people. Now, these pricing changes include making the free starter plan more capable than it was before. People can now do unlimited one-to-one meetings inside Arkio. They can import OBJ and GLB files of practically any size that you support importing. You still need the Pro or Enterprise plan to import Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, and so on files, and for the more professional workflows. But we want to enable anyone, even without a paid plan, to just get a taste of what Arkio can do. And again, why it is so important to be able to experience buildings before they actually get built. We have removed the Plus plan to simplify the pricing scheme. We have lowered the monthly and annual Pro cost to make Arkio more affordable to more people. And the Enterprise plan with the floating license is still the best option for larger teams and companies. You can see these updated pricing on our website and get into all of the details of what these are and how these plans compare. But we believe strongly that there's never been a better time to try Arkio. You can even get started with a free 14-day trial. Whether you're using Arkio on an XR headset or an iPad or your PC, just give it a go, get a feel for it. And as always, we'd love to hear from you if you have a chance to try it out. We love hearing feedback from our users and our customers. But enough from me. So let's get into the cool parts of the presentation. So we're going to kick it off with Johan, and he's going to do a live demo of some of these new capabilities in 2.2. So over to you, Johan.
Yeah, let me share my screen. This one. Let's put it in there. Yep. So chatting first a bit about the workflows of the plugins, because they got a great number of improvements versus our previous versions. We have simplified how these plugins work by giving you more options and explanations when you're exporting something to Arkio and back. When you're opening the plugins on the Windows version of Arkio, you now get greeted by an export setting panel, which allows you to inspect which cloud group you're already part of, if you want to directly open your scene in a new Arkio scene. And you can also select here the movable categories in case of a Revit project. We later also show some of the other plugins. And in this case, if I select, for example, the furniture, I can see I currently have more than 500 elements selected. We support up to 1,000 elements on mobile devices like a Quest. And we're also allowing you to select the level of detail that you want to export. So those settings all got generalized between all of our plugins. Looking at our SketchUp example, we have a file over here which shows very well how this works. That you basically, any project that you have, Revit project which have families, which is a certain category if you want movable, or a Rhino or SketchUp project, you just make sure that your elements are modeled as components in the case of SketchUp, or groups, or blocks in the case of Rhino, and they're assigned to a layer that you want to have movable. So in this case, this house consists of a couple of tags in SketchUp, and it has furniture tag and a door tag. I'm just using the doors and the furniture toggles basically to make those elements movable when they get to Arkio. When you press OK, it will show you now a loading bar. It shows some information of what is actually happening under the hood. Then you also can see a bit of progress of when you bring your models to Arkio. And after the export is completed, Arkio will automatically open on your PC and upload this file to a cloud, which will show actually as it's going to Arkio here. So right now this model got processed. I had it open in Arkio already, but if you have a new version, it shows an update icon. This process got made easier as well, because before you had to be connected to an Arkio cloud on this panel. Now it's its own dedicated panel. If you would not be cloud connected, the cloud panel actually gives you a good overview of what is going on. Like, you have a status icon on the top, which shows you if you're cloud connected or not. And from here, it's easy to create a new group. So let's just say for this case, demo 2.2, I'm creating a group. If you wouldn't be connected to a cloud group yet, and you're making a new export from the plugins, Arkio makes a group for you now, and then you can use this panel to add new devices to that group. So this makes it easier, because you can just generate new codes, and then use the PC browser, for example, to get your access to your files. Just have a quick peek if I have a file open. I'm just going to make a new panel here and move it in here. So if I go to cloud.arkio.is, this basically gives me an option to join that group. So let me just go in here and put it in here. So I have this invite code. This invite code can also be filled in on your other devices. So if you have a PC or a Mac or a Quest headset, all of these can join this group. And this gives access to disconnecting the group, adding the devices, and everyone can see in which group they are in order to see which files are in sync. There's also access to your Arkio scenes, like all of the files that are available to your local device and that are shared ones with your device via the cloud, and all of your resources. So this house resource I just uploaded, it's now directly available on my other connected cloud devices. So the flow for bringing your models into the different devices had gotten a lot easier. Now this example is showing our model from SketchUp that we loaded. You can see when I hover over the elements, all of these elements are now movable. And these are using Arkio's movable tools. Abby will chat a bit more about them. I'm just going to add a few things in the scene. So I'm just adding a more realistic apartment with some nicely baked textures in there, and adding another apartment file with a number of movable nodes from Revit. So I'm just adding this in the current scene. This is another change we did. Every time you bring a model into the Arkio scene, we center you directly on that model. So if it's somewhere where you couldn't find it, like at least you're directly pointing at it, it's adding a new view for that one as well. So you can easily go between the different models that you loaded. And one of the things that is really nice in Arkio is you don't need to be just working in one type of modeling tool. You can bring in models from all sorts of sources and combine them in an Arkio scene. Now this scene is currently available on my Quest as well. I'm just going to join a meeting here and join with my Quest to have a look at that file. Let's see if my Quest is running. No. Okay, in to the meeting. That's me over here. I can mute myself. So when And connected to the same cloud group, it directly gives me access to those files over there. I don't need to wait anymore to get these files loaded. They're directly synced between your devices. When I'm jumping inside of that model and zooming a bit in to focus a bit on here, this collaboration and using movable families is like it's a no-brainer. You understand if you're having access to your elements that you already made in SketchUp or Revit. It gives you freedom to do all sorts of tests with different people, with your clients, with other designers. So there's all sorts of use cases that you can think of for that. I'm just making a suggestion here, moving this table around. I have an idea of making a new coffee machine over here in this corner. So I'm just adding that with an Arkio block, maybe trying out some other equipment over there. And if you make your elements like doors and windows as a movable category, you can also just interact with these and use that to play test if you have enough clearance, for example, for opening your doors and if your things are all fitting in your design. Of course, you can use Arkio for design ideation, but also for reviewing. So maybe there's this issue, you can see an issue over here. I want this space to be a bit smaller. I just add that in the scene. And then from the Arkio client itself, we can make these exports. And I can do that from my Quest headset, but I'm just doing this on my PC now to show you better. The exports can be made back to SketchUp. And all the elements that are loaded in that scene, including the moved elements, will then be packaged up and prepared for your round trip back into your original tool. I have this already prepared over here, so we don't have to wait loading that. So we have that Revit project came in, we have this file with the textures coming in, and when we look at how the changes that I just added came back, it's they're basically putting all the objects that you added as separate new elements, and then it's up to you to move your original elements to the final position. Basically, you can make some tweaks or maybe organize it a bit better in your exact dimensions. And then just delete the placeholders. Only the objects that got moved around in Arkio, they will be exported back. So that prevents you having a lot of duplicates and things in the scene. Same for models that were from other sources. They will come back if they are not from the same source. Then we are about to release actually a new version, a new update. And I wanted to quickly chat about that. So we have made some other changes in the 2.0 version. So you might see this on this scene already. We improved some of the rendering in Arkio. So we now have like better reflections. When we look at this glass, for example, we have some orientation and navigation improvements coming up for the VR-less version of Arkio. So when I'm currently navigating around or teleporting, you see it's smoothing out a bit. And this version will be released tomorrow, so you can directly get access to some of these things I'm showing. One of the biggest changes we're adding is a new update to the AI camera. We are using a new model which allows us to make better images because it's using the image, it's analyzing the image, and it's following those contours of your design better. And we have, I will just basically just do that really quickly here. I'm just making a render of this particular viewpoint in the render setting. We don't longer require you to select if it's an indoor or exterior space because the image itself is being analyzed. And you can also now set how much quality you want of that image. So you have a bit of control over how coarse or fine detail and high resolution you want your images to be at. These are some examples of some of the new model generated images. So you can see it really follows the design really neatly, like it follows the contours of your building, the props, the things that you place in. This is the example of a color sketch. And you might recognize all the furniture, everything inside is nicely kept intact in the new models. And yeah, I highly can recommend you to have a look at that when this version gets available. The model is greatly enhancing the details that were in your original design and also works like that for your imported model. So if you have a nice model from Revit or SketchUp that you bring in, you can use Arkio's AI camera to do all sorts of fun explorations. Nice thing to add here and to mention is you don't longer need to prompt really detailed prompt, like because the image is analyzed, it can already know a lot of things before it's doing these things. Next to that, we also added BCF exports for the issues. I have an example of that from one of our sample scenes. So like all of you that are using Arkio for issue management, the nodes can be exported to the Arkio cloud, and soon you can also export those issues from the Arkio cloud to BCF and bring them into your favorite bin authoring tool. That was, in a nutshell, what's all new and what is coming. So yeah, I'd like to hand it back to Hilmar and Annie.
Thanks, Johan. That's pretty amazing. It's a lot to cover, even in a small 2.2 release. We're trying to move as fast as we can to make Arkio the best tool possible for all of you. And it gives me great pleasure to give the stage to Abby. Abby is one of our power users and is working at IMEG and really, doing very interesting things with Arkio in all kinds of different workflows across all kinds of different platforms. And I think that what she will be showing you will really open, many eyes in terms of what Arkio is already capable of, and why something like this is critically important for the design process and design workflows. So with that being said, Abby, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Hilmar. Thanks, Johan, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Coleman, and I'm an extended reality specialist at IMEG. My background's in mechanical engineering, but never would I thought in a million years I'd be in a position doing such a cool job, working with extended reality. My role focuses on helping our project teams and clients use immersive technology to better understand, review, and communicate design before construction begins. I talk to our engineers all the time. They hate always having to answer RFIs and have change orders and whatnot. So XR really helps alleviate some of those pain points. Over the past several years with IMEG, I've had the opportunity to help facilitate nearly 5,000 XR experiences across healthcare, higher education, industrial, hospitality, and commercial projects with various stakeholders. An XR experience could look like being in a headset, using an iPad, casting your screen onto the TV, and then having those people witness and have that experience. I saw my teammate Rajesh Panchel's on. I would like to give him a quick shout out. He actually resides in one of our India offices, and it's literally midnight for him. So, hey Rajesh, thanks for joining. And a lot of what we've accomplished, has been a team effort. So to get to those 5,000 XR experiences, definitely did not do that alone. Rajesh has been a huge help for scaling XR throughout our firm and helping us achieve so many experiences. So for those of you who may not know, IMEG, we are a national engineering consultancy firm with over 3,000 employees spread across about 100 offices. One of our core values is innovation. So we're constantly looking for ways to incorporate technology to provide positive outcomes for our people, community, and our planet. We provide a wide range of engineering services. I like to call us a one-stop shop for engineering services just because we do everything. So MEP, structural, civil, technology, fire protection, all of it, we cover that. And it's super exciting to use, XR in all of these disciplines because, XR helps everyone. So 2D drawings, they're very traditional. Sometimes they're hard to understand. Even as a mechanical engineer myself, I still kind of get confused on what's happening and really feeling out like the space and understanding spatially what's going on. So in putting myself in the shoes of a client, I couldn't imagine what's going through their head. So through my XR journey, I've learned, some of the best project decisions happen when people can actually experience and understand their design instead of trying to interpret it from a 2D plan alone. And that's where Arkio comes in, and it's been an incredibly valuable tool for us. Something I've also learned the hard way through all of our experiences is not everyone's ready to jump straight into VR. A lot of people are hesitant. A lot of people, think like, oh, I can't get in. It's going to make me motion sick. And you know what? That's okay. What we found out is the key of adopting this technology is meeting the users where they're at and then gradually building their comfort level. So when I think of XR experiences, I think of them in 3 different levels, with each level becoming a little bit more immersive and interactive than the last. And that's one of the things I appreciate about Arkio is that it helps support those level of immersions at every stage in our journey. So the first level is mobile devices. This is a great entry point into XR. It's great for those who don't want to put on a headset. It's really easy. You can pull it out on site, do it in the office. It's very versatile. This next level 2, is the PC. Again, a little bit more intuitive. Honestly, this is one of my favorite ways to use Arkio. Again, it requires no headset. It's great for remote client meetings, fly-throughs. You can use all the tools, section cut, measurements, etc. And then that last level is being fully immersed and getting to a VR headset. This is best for in-person sessions, being able to walk through your spaces at human scale, and actually like walking as if you were there, and having multiple users in one session. One thing to note is that all 3 of these levels have all the same capabilities. So, working with various companies, I know some softwares only offer some capabilities on, say, in VR, and then you're limited of what you can do on the PC or, in a mobile device. But with Arkio, you can move, and have all these capabilities, measurement, section cut, exporting notes, stuff like that on all 3 of these levels. So so I guess today I'm going to jump right into it. I'd like to share some real world examples on how we're using Arkio on our projects with stakeholders. So starting with level 1, groundbreaking ceremonies. If you're in the AEC industry like myself, this is really low-hanging fruit. Every project has a groundbreaking ceremony, and we found that this helps keep, the engineers and clients motivated. And so this is kind of what it can look like when we're using, mobile devices for groundbreaking ceremonies. Arkio has this capability. You're able to easily, project your building on a green field. So really cool shot of us doing that. It's also great for renovation projects. So again, if you want to see your future design on existing conditions, you can do so. And site visualization. Maybe you're doing, construction's being built and you want to overlay, hey, is something being built correctly? You can do that. I know one use case, we were able to put AR on site, and we were able to, or I asked the contractor, like, hey, do you find this useful? And he's like, yeah, I wish we would have been able to have this capability because I would have known that this pipe where I'm placing the hole is like 3 feet off. So, yeah. Okay, level 2 is PC, and I actually have a demo prepared I'd like to walk you through. So let me go ahead, share that screen. All right, so yeah, what we found is that remote client design review meetings have been super successful when using Arkio. So I wanted to show, quickly how that workflow looks like. And so again, with the newest 2.2 update that Arkio has released, we're able to move Revit elements live during meetings, which is huge. So I guess last week we actually had a client call, and our medical equipment planning team was on the project, moving around medical equipment, and they were trying to get the owner sign off. So I'd like to reenact the scenario with you guys. So acting like I'm the medical equipment planner, and then all of you guys are the client. And my goal is to confidently have you guys sign off on my plan. So here's Arkio. We have the building. I like to always section it off to start out with this 2D plan, because that's traditionally how we see our projects. But now we have the capability to step right into our building. So let's do that. And we can turn back on the ceiling. And boom, voila, you are in your building and you can walk your building one-to-one. So let's take this room, for example. Again, reminder, I'm the medical equipment planner and you guys are all the clients. And I'm saying, hey, client, do you like this layout? Let's say you guys don't like this flow. You're saying, hey, these equipment's kind of obstructing our flow. We don't like the flow. Can you change that? With Arkio, we certainly can. So let's show you how we can do that. So I like to section off the roof like this. Let's go to our move tool. Now let's move that equipment. Let's say we'll move this here and this here. All right. We can go back to one-to-one. All right. How do we feel? Does that feel better? Being able to move this equipment live during a meeting is huge, because through various of surveys to clients, they love, being able to move equipment live, because it helps them make their decisions, make more confident decisions and, more effectively, faster. So maybe we want to move this table and move this microscope. So let's do that. What does that look like? Have our move tool. Let's go ahead and do this. Move that table. Let's move this microscope. And with Arkio, through edit tools, we can even make this table 6 feet if you wanted to see what that looks like. So let's change that real quick. 6 feet. Okay. Now we can go back to one-to-one scale. And again, kind of get the feel of what does that look like? How does this feel? Yeah, like I said, we had a meeting with a client last week and we did this with them, and we were able to confidently get their, permission to sign off on these spaces super quickly, a lot faster than we thought, which was awesome feedback. So yeah, that's one way to use, the PC. But, moving Revit families don't just help medical equipment planning, they help all disciplines, like I said earlier. So I would like to show another scenario. This scenario is for MEP. So for those of you who are the, mechanical, electrical, or plumbing engineers, this is going to speak a lot to you. Let's zoom out here real quick. All right, so I have a building here. As you can see, it's a penthouse at the top. We have a ton of ductwork and plumbing, clashing into each other. So one, visualizing it in 3D with Arkio really helps us catch those coordination issues. But what I like to show off here is this is a real use case that I helped one of our engineers with. His problem was knowing, hey, can I put these 3 big air handling units up in, the space, and what's the best layout to optimize this? And so, working with him, we can easily, I'll show you here, move some of this equipment. We can move it, left to right, rotate it, and really, oh, live demo. Oh no. Oh crap. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you, Abby.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
So much for a live demo. These things can happen.
Live demos, we love it. Okay.
But it's great to see what you showed us, and it's great to see how you've been using this, like with clients, in real time. So that's awesome.
Are you still with us, Abby?
I think Abby's PC is basically freezing, it seems.
Because I remember she also she had some recordings as well. So let's see if she can come back for them.
Yeah, let's give her a chance to log back in.
Mm-hmm.
So while we wait for Abby to come back in, we have a few questions like in the chat. So let's see if we can maybe get to those. And there was a question about the exporting of the issues. Like, did I hear that you can take issues out of Arkio and into Ardes format? Probably referring to our BCF export, Johan. You want to take that one?
Yeah. So Forma does support importing BCFs and exporting as well. So in theory, it would be possible to get your issues from Arkio to Arkio Cloud and to the BCF format and then bring those into Forma. The issues come with camera points and they come with the like screenshots of the actual issue. So they are supported in various BIM coordination softwares. It's currently not directly linked to element IDs yet, but that's something that we have on our roadmap as well. So we currently have the position of the node, the screenshot of it, the data of the node, the priority, the assignment, and all that data will come into Forma if you should import it into Forma.
And then we had a question about, I think, the second model you put into that scene where you had the SketchUp model. The texture surface was extra good on that one. How did you make that?
It's a good question. So we get this question a lot about bumping up the visual quality of models on mobile devices. And a technique that's often used for this on web browsers and mobile devices is baking your lighting into the model. And that model was an example of where they did that, where they basically it's unwrapping the whole 3D model and baking the light into the texture itself. It's a process that is more familiar for game industry, so it's not something that a lot of architectural software can do, but it is something that some professional services can do and offer. Gaming studios and game asset designers can also do these things. And if you have access to a model with baked texture, loading it into Arkio will give you that quality that can work on any device then.
Right, and here's another one. Can Revit families be brought through Arkio into SketchUp as discrete movable groups or blocks?
Yes, the other way around, it does actually work a bit better. Bringing your SketchUp components into Revit families. That integration is slightly more advanced, but basically what I just showed there was the full Revit project coming in, including all the content what was in there. So SketchUp currently imports everything as one component of that Revit imported family or the imported object, but the SketchUp to Arkio to Revit flow gives you the individual movable SketchUp objects actually as movable Revit families. So it's pretty interesting new workflows possible using this.
Going back and forth and back and forth.
Yes.
All kinds of circles. So there's a comment about Arkio and Treble, who are both in Iceland. So Treble are working on some audio algorithms and optimization and visualization of audio in spaces, and how we looked at making them interoperable. So the answer to that currently is no, but of course we know the Treble team quite well. So maybe we'll look at that at some point in time in the future. Let me see. So I think that was the last question. And we have Abby joining. Hey, Abby, you're back to live.
Hey, Johan.
Yes.
Hey, Omar. So sorry. I think my computer totally crashed.
Yes. Hopefully we are not the cause of it, but you never know.
Oh,
So
no.
this can happen.
Yeah, live demos. Gotta love it.
Live demos.
Yeah.
So are you ready to go on and continue your demo, or like?
Yeah, that kind of wrapped up. I was just
Yeah.
going to move on to level 3 immersion. So let me go
Perfect.
ahead and
So move ourselves on the stage.
yeah. All right. Let me go ahead. Share my screen. So I guess wrapping up, I don't know where you guys heard me, but the MEP example was, us basically moving those big pieces of air handling equipment in that complex space, really answering those what if questions. Oop, you can see my teams. Answering those what if questions like, hey, what if we move this air handler over here? Would it be best if there's a big air handling unit, or maybe there's 2 smaller air handling units, etc. And we were able to successfully show this Arkio live model to the client, and them being able to say, yeah, we don't like this layout, or we do like this layout. So yeah. Okay, and so getting on to level 3. So in the VR headset, doing live mockups is what's really been useful for us for level 3. And so what that looks like is, instead of looking at 2D floor plans, now we can get our client in the headset and actually walk their space. And so this is kind of some pictures of an example we did with a client. Again, this is a medical equipment example, but they had this OR room, and they wanted to do a quick mock-up of this space, but due to budget constraints and time constraints, they couldn't do like a full physical mock-up, and so we were able to seize the moment and do it in VR instead. Some other use cases and how we're using Arkio in VR is doing in a more immersive QA/QC review. And so as you can see here, we're in VR, we're able to section cut that roof, and now you can see that all that MEP equipment is exposed, really helping our QC reviewers find those coordination issues, clearance issues. All those issues kind of stick out like a sore thumb in 3D. Another use case for, say, our civil folks is site planning. And so using like the map feature that Arkio has, we're able to plop our new construction building right on site, and kind of helps us and the clients visualize what does this building look like when it's fully, built out. How does this feel? We can walk around, kind of compare it against existing buildings, and see if we like the orientation, or if it interferes with any of the sight lines. This is also another use case. So we do a lot of Matterport scanning, and so this is just a video of showing us doing this with our office in St. Louis, but we've definitely had a Matterport scan of other projects, again, renovation projects, plop them into VR, and then we were able to have the capability to insert equipment or new design, and kind of play around with it in that exploratory phase to optimize equipment layout. And then this last video using mixed reality, something really exciting to show. Again, Arkio has this really cool capability of using mixed reality and being able to move their elements. This is something I haven't seen in any other app. But for this example, we're in an existing electrical room, and with these capabilities, we're able to play around live. What would happen if we move this equipment here or moved it here? again, this kind of expands outside of, electrical. This can be with mechanical, again, moving maybe pumps or chillers. This could be for medical equipment. You have a blank space. You're moving around, the medical equipment, the surgical table, booms, etc. Yeah. So to really wrap it up, not only do we think that, XR is really cool, so does our clients, and proof is in the pudding. So here you can see that this is feedback we've gotten from clients. We've been able to survey almost 100 people. And out of that, we've gotten an average score of 9.10 on how helpful it is for them to view their design in VR in lieu of 2D floor plans. And yeah, I guess that kind of sums it up. One thing I did want to leave for you guys to remember is that I think 3D is the universal language of design, and I think Arkio does a really good job helping communicate design intent to our non-designers like clients. So yeah, I guess that wraps it up for my section. Sorry for the mishap of the live demo, but happy to answer any questions that's been unanswered.
Thanks, Abby. This was awesome. And this is like, anything can happen with live demos. We've for sure had all kinds of things happen, even live on stage. So you never know. It's a lot of fun, but we like to do these because we like to show the tech, at work.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So we have a few more questions. We did a bit of a QA while you were resurrecting yourself.
No worries.
But there's a few questions here for you. So it's a question on AR. So what is your best way to have a good look of the model when you're walking that AR space together with a client?
Oh, good question. I know sometimes you will experience drift when using AR on site. So it really depends on, I guess, your application. But I know with Arkio, what we can do, it's really good. You can just kind of go up to the real life structure and kind of align it with the structure pretty well. And there's not a lot of drift. But I know other applications maybe have QR codes. Definitely taking advantage of that is good. But quite frankly, you're going to experience some drift. But I've noticed it's good for about 30 feet. So really just kind of being mindful of what space you want to look at and then kind of anchoring it from there. So.
Very good. And there's a question about the scanned assets from Matterport that looked a bit, abstract or blobby. So did you have to decimate the mesh that merged to work with Arkio, or was that an artifact from some other part of the process? So the conference room scan you brought in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were testing out different file formats when we did that. And I think that that's not on Arkio's side. That's definitely on our side on like how well we did the Matterport scan. I think we only did like a couple scans. So if we would have gotten a detailed scan, it would have came in better. On top of that, of just what file format, I think we used OBJ, but I think there's a better. This is something we're still experimenting with, so I don't have a good answer for you right now. But yeah, overall, just playing with the file formats and the number of scans that you do really matters on how it comes in through some softwares like Arkio.
We for sure, both ourselves and others do scans that vary a lot in quality and basically how precise they are. So it is for sure possible to bring in something that looks kind of not abstract in any way. Anything up to, we've seen people do like drone scans of huge areas that are pretty accurate, but that of course requires like drones and some specialty software to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some good resources online also where you download a file, like 3D scans of other people's files, and LiDAR scanning apps on the phones, like iPhones, they come up pretty well as well. Like if you're because we had a question about realistic textures, like on light baking as well. Like if you have access to an existing space, it's often the quickest way to make something really nice and realistic by just scanning the space with like third-party tools, and Matterport is one of those tools that you can bring in. Arkio will, if it's a really heavy file, like a heavy mesh, it might reduce the mesh a bit, but based on your device capabilities, it will just show the number of triangles that your device can handle. You might have to load something in Blender first to look at how the mesh is, and have to do some decimation there, but there's also tools that can help you with this process.
So as for uploading scans from other companies besides Matterport, then absolutely, like if you can export an OBJ or GLTF, GLB file from your scanning software, you can import it into Arkio. So that's not an issue. There's a question about, do we have experience with adding photodomes for imagery to replace the white skies in Arkio? And interestingly enough, we have been doing some internal experiments with that, but nothing released yet. But I guess more of that later, Johan, or what?
Yeah. We're working on something like this. There's ways to currently hack it by bringing in your own inverted domes, but we're working on a feature to make that easier.
And then there's a question about ArchiCAD. If I make changes in Arkio, will these changes be reflected when we return to ArchiCAD?
So ArchiCAD and Navisworks, they currently don't have an import functionality. They can only export to Arkio with our current plugins. Navisworks makes sense because it's a tool to mostly collect models. ArchiCAD, we currently don't have that functionality, but ArchiCAD out of the box already supports importing meshes. So if you want to get your Arkio scene into ArchiCAD, you can just export an OBJ mesh from Arkio and bring that mesh into ArchiCAD as a design reference to align your floors or make your changes that you want to do in your Arkio or your ArchiCAD file.
So there's a question about 3D models. Is there a warehouse where you can gather, share, and export models?
The general warehouses for other model sources is something that we often use ourselves as well. So I can recommend Sketchfab, a 3D warehouse from SketchUp, basically repositories of families that you have internally for your company library. Like your best friend here is your existing design tools and models, because you can bring them all into Arkio via the Arkio PC client or Arkio Cloud.
Yeah, I think that's it, with the questions in the chat at least. So I'm just, before we wrap up, Abby, you shared a lot of cool use cases and some testimonial even from your customers. And it's great to see how high they score these experiences. Mm-hmm. So, as I said at the beginning, we think it's critically important that people can experience these spaces in 3D, whether they're immersed or not. So if you were to kind of sum up on your end, both from your point of view as IMEG and for your clients, why do you feel this is so important? Just in a nutshell, why go through all of these things and use Arkio for what you showed us?
I guess in a nutshell, I feel like it's important because just getting the design right the first time, it really, I guess communication's hard sometimes with engineers too. And so being able to communicate, immersively in 3D really helps alleviate some of the pain points and miscommunications that happen all the time. And really just at the end of the day, everyone's a big team of helping, support the client and having the client have the best building possible. And so I think, seeing this in 3D can really do that. So again, summarize, really helps alleviate RFIs, rework and change orders and stuff like that. So.
Awesome. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks, Abby, for joining us today. It's inspiring to see how you're using Arkio out in the field, internally with clients and so on. And to everybody else, thanks for joining. It's been great to have you with us. It's really easy to get started with Arkio. You can download it on any of your devices, get started with a free 14-day trial. You can experiment with similar use cases as Abby just showed you. It's easy to have the Revit, Rhino, ArchiCAD sort of plugin set up and importing your model. And seeing is believing. You just got to try it to really kind of get a feel for what this can do for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and hopefully we'll see you, the next time we get together for a live event. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Abby, again for joining.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.